So after he graduated, he decided that he was going to search for a training program within a large corporation that focused on executive training. And so he ended up at Ford Motor Company, where he spent 7 years. And in this, he rotated through all of the different human resources areas. He then moved on to Johnson & Johnson, where he was the Director of Organization and Management Development. And he spent 3 years there. He then joined Harcourt Brace Jovanovich as the Vice President of Human Resources, and then joined Viacom International as the Senior Vice President of Human Resources. Then he moved on to Pan Am as the Senior Vice President of Human Resources, and ended up at Citibank later on as the Senior Vice President of the credit card operation there. And from there he moved on to Korn Ferry International, which you may know as the world's largest executive search firm. And he realized that what he was really good at was executing those executive searches, so that's what he stayed with. And that actually brought him over to Aetna, which is located in Hartford, Connecticut, where today he is the head of executive recruiting. And what this pretty much entails is helping to identify their senior management needs and helping to bring over executives to fill those senior positions. So please join me in welcoming and recognizing Ken Meyer.
You were really very kind to me because, what does it say after Johnson & Johnson?
Hartford?
No, what does it say after Johnson & Johnson?
Oh, yeah.
I got fired. But she was so kind about it.
Well, this is for you.
Oh,
For all the time and energy that you spend on Babson and speaking to us. So thank you very much.
Well, you really risked only giving it to me before I said it. Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity of coming here. This is the second year I'm doing it. I'm really just delighted to have a chance and address you folks. One of the things that hopefully what we'll do at the end of the 3 hours is, one of the things that we'll do is give you an idea of how good you are. Okay? I mean, you kind of focus where I am in class and everything, give you a competitive idea where you are. What I also have, I wonder if I could get somebody just kind of help me pass a bunch of this stuff around. I brought some handouts with me, just because probably nothing I say will be worth taking notes about, but if you want to look at it later on, you can. I'm going to have a whole bunch extra there, just for this section if you would. What I want to do is spend a little time talking with you about getting into corporations, interviewing. There's a whole bunch more coming here, just give it a second. And how do you do it? Okay, this is kind of a secret sauce, if you will. The fact of the matter is, I will return your resumes to you with my deep analysis of you. This is not about you. It has very, very little to do with you. It's all about me. Okay? The only reason I even want to read your resume is I have a need, corporate need. Okay? I have some gap in my organization I need to fill. I need to know that you can do it. All right? It doesn't help me a lot to know that you're good at horseback riding. It doesn't help me a lot to know that you really like skiing or that, okay? It does help me to know that you've done a lot of charity work. It does help me to know that you have a social conscience, blah, blah, blah. But what I need you to do, and when we give you back your resumes, I need you to focus on the overall thought that this has little to do with you, it has to do with me. Okay. It was interesting in reading the resumes, and I'll review it later on, you'll know who you are. Only one person put down this objective. Everybody else started off my education, this is about me, this is what I've done, this is me, this is me, this is me, this is me. Nobody said what they wanted to do, just one person. Okay? So, what I'd like to do is just to give you a sense of it. When you approach a corporation and you're looking for a job, you need to have an elevator speech. Okay? You need to be able to concisely sell yourself and differentiate yourself from the person sitting next to you. Right now, if I look at the resumes, okay, I could change the names on them, right? And they're all the same, basically. Okay. Nobody really differentiated themselves as to what you bring to a corporation. Let me give you an example. Is there anybody here who's interested in marketing in a corporation? Okay, Matthew. Yes. I caught you with your mouth.
I'm sorry.
Tell me about yourself.
So I'm a senior at Aetna College, one of the top entrepreneurship schools. I'm currently right now going into a major of marketing and economics. Eventually, when I graduate, I want to go into something along the lines of brand management. Moving from there, getting into the idea of product placement, eventually gaining enough knowledge to open up my own firm.
Pretty good. Tell me the difference in, my name is Matthew. I am a graduate of Babson College. I excelled in the entrepreneurship program having to do with how you segment markets to be sure that we hit a targeted population. We had projects involved. We ended up increasing sales by 20%. And the marketplace, we made a new website for them. Their sales now have gone up on a steady trajectory of 12% per year. So it's a little different.
Oh, very good.
Okay? A little different then, right? To say, I'm Ken Meyer, okay, and I'm a human resources executive, as opposed to, I'm Ken Meyer, I've done all the generalist HR work, I've done mergers and acquisitions, labor relations, compensation, and benefits, blah, 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 okay? That's my elevator speech. You got 90 seconds. There are two elements that you're going to get to a corporation where you can hit me between the eyes. One, or three really. One is your cover letter, and we'll talk about making a good cover letter for you. Number two is your resume. And number three is how you interview, the elevator speech, and how you go ahead and present yourself. Okay. I can't tell you the number of people who just talk themselves out of jobs. They ramble and ramble and ramble. The last guy, actually it happened this morning. I ended up saying to somebody, we had an hour interview, 40 minutes later, I said, could I get one more question in? I started with one, I need a second question, okay? And he didn't stop, okay? So at 5 minutes to go, I ended up saying, you know, I do have to be in Boston, okay? Could I get one more question in? And I got it in, and then he started to answer. I figured, you know, I'm going to be late, right? You talk yourself out of a job. You got to be concise and specific of what you're going to do. The material that I gave you will go through some of that stuff with you and see if I can be helpful to it. I can guarantee you one thing, okay? This is not going to be easy. This economy stinks, all right? You really have great backgrounds. You have great educational backgrounds. This entrepreneurial flair that you have really will go far. You need to be able to corral it and explain it and make sure that I and the corporation realize, how can I use that? Rather than this was great education for you, how am I going to corral that? How can I use that? Okay, the job search is going to be as difficult as any coursework you're taking now. Okay? The only thing about it is once you get the job, it's over. Okay? The trouble is that people tend to do the same thing over and over and over again. If it's not working, you need to fix it. You need to do something different. Okay, let's talk about how you differentiate yourself. Did everybody get one of these? Okay. Start with the 90-second interview. Okay, your 90-second presentation. Go through this on your own. Do it and practice it in front of the mirror. Who are you? Okay? Be concise. Don't be modest. Okay? I mean, nobody else is going to be in the room telling how great you are except you. Okay? So go ahead and say, here's what my skill sets are. Here's where I've really had success. This is what I can bring to the corporation. The issue, though, is that you have got to understand my needs. Okay? And take that 90-second drill and put it to my needs. How do you find out about that? I'm Aetna, and I call you up and I say, I'd like to have you come on in for an interview. What do? How do you prepare? Anybody have any thoughts? Yeah.
Research Aetna, specifically whatever department it is.
Yeah, how?
I mean, there's databases all over the place.
Yeah.
There's Google, there's asking their employees, there's all that.
Hoovers, LinkedIn, Google, Yahoo, SEC filings, news reports, people who got promoted, people who have left the company, the blog, our website, okay? You know, all the social media stuff. Take a look at, go into the organization, who are Babson graduates, who are in Aetna, who can I contact, how can I get a sense of the flavor of the culture, what are our businesses, look at the press releases, look at the annual reports. You'll see something like, an actual, as we were discussing, is that Aetna has indicated for a corporate objective in the next 3 years that 1/3 of our revenue stream will come from an international base. Okay, we're a $35 billion company now. We're going to get $10 billion from the international marketplace. Natural question in an interview is, how are you doing that? Okay, what areas are you going to be looking at and concentrate? What countries are you going into? How are you going to go ahead and maximize your revenue stream? What businesses now are doing well? What businesses are not doing well? You can look at the financials, okay? Read it all through. Get really, really educated on the company you're going to talk to. Okay? That differentiates you from somebody that comes in and says, you're looking at a financial analyst. In school, I took courses in accounting, okay? There's a difference there. All of a sudden, I know, A, you're smart, B, you're in tune with what my needs are, okay? And you're looking at how you can be helpful with your background in my company. So that's.
For instance, yesterday I went for negotiation, and when I Googled the individual, okay, it said he was from Harvard Law School. Guess what kind of tie I wore walking into the interview?
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right.
And then the first thing I looked at was how many pictures he had on the wall, and what charity he was. Let him do the talking as opposed to you thinking you have to sell. But when it's your turn, you've now set it up. Sorry, not you.
Okay, yeah, that's exactly right. You need to develop a letter, a cover letter, and we'll go through it later on, the rifle shot. All right, and I can show you some letters that we got here that are just, A, it's gonna make you laugh, but that's your competition. Okay, not everybody, but I mean some of it is just ridiculous. You really have the opportunity with this education to be able to go right in, home right in on what my needs are. Okay, most of the candidates don't do that. What I want you to think of is just use the anachronism STAR, S-T-A-R. Okay, look at the situation. What specific issues do you think I'm facing? Okay, what tasks are out there? How can you go ahead with your background and take care of them? What action is necessary to remedy a problem, and what will the result be? Just kind of think through. If you say, gee, I've worked on problems, here's what, this one, okay, here's what their problem was. Here's the action that we took. Here's the result of it. Quantify it. Don't just go ahead and say, they did better. Okay, I interviewed somebody in human resources, and they did training, and I said, well, how'd you know your training was effective? And they said, people were smiling. You know, so basically we spend $2,400 per participant in there to get a smile. I have a better idea. Let's give them $1,000 each. I'll get a real grin, okay? And not waste their time. All right. So the other issue that you need to know about is you're going to be facing people like me interviewing you. Okay. Now, we're different generations. Yeah, I know you didn't know this, but we are, okay? We're different generations. The people who are facing you have a different mindset, okay? You need to kind of nudge them along a little bit. Just to give you an example, I just wanted to give you an example. Hold on. Because we wrote it down. Oh, this was so good, I'm losing it. Hold on.
In 5 years ago, we used to have this.
Right, committed to memory. I know, the age is getting to me. I guess, I mean, what I would tell you is from memory is that, look, when I was a kid growing up, it was a big deal. We got a television, one of the first televisions, okay? There was no dial, there was no push-button phone, okay? There was no internet. There was no laptop. We all have laptops, okay? When I went to graduate school, what I had to do is I got this huge deck of punched cards. You'd go into a room this size, load the deck, have the thing sorted out. You had to learn how to do COBOL programming, okay? There was no space program. There was a segregated school system when I went to undergraduate school in the South. The world has changed, okay? You guys don't even remember a situation without the internet out there, all right? I mean, a couple of us were talking the other day about, I met somebody in the Nixon administration. None of you were alive in the Nixon administration, I think. I mean, you go ahead and go, wow. You know, to me, it's like, wow, that's fairly recent. Just to give you an idea, my wife and I were talking with her grandmother, and she was relating her mother telling her about Lincoln's assassination. Okay? I mean, think of how quickly the world's speeding up. All right? The fact is, it's interesting. Let me give you a couple of do-you-knows. By 2015, 45% of the U.S. population younger than the age of 25 will be non-white. In the next decade, 1 in every 4 workers in the U.S. will be an immigrant from Latin America. In 2009, men lost more jobs and American women started more companies. The U.S. Department of Labor estimates that today's learner will have 10 to 14 jobs by the age of 38. Okay? Get going. You know? 1 out of 4 workers today is working for a company they've been employed with for less than a year. These will blow your mind. 24% of the population in China with the highest IQ is greater than the total population of the United States. In India, it's 28%. Universities are preparing our current and future employees for jobs that don't yet exist. They'll use technology to solve problems they don't even know are problems yet. And the world is completely changing. Okay, you're right in the midst of this. Here, name this country. In 1990, it was the richest in the world, the largest military center of world business and finance, the strongest educational system, world center of innovation and invention, currency the world standard of value, and the highest standard of living. What's that country? England. Did you know it? Yeah. Name this company. In 1989, its products were steadily losing market share. There was infighting and product line divisions. Retail stores failed to sell or display their products. There was poor inventory tracking that led to overproduction. They lost a multi-million-dollar lawsuit with a competitor for copyright infringement. What's the company? Apple. Apple. Now it's what, probably close to the largest in the world. Okay? Technology reigns. Okay? I have to be careful with this. Shift happens. Okay? Wayne Gretzky, you know, the famous hockey player, says, you gotta skate to where the puck will be, not where it was. Okay, be prepared to stay on the cutting edge. Right? A company is not as much taken by what you've done as to what you can do for them in the future. Your resumes are just a piece of paper right now. We've got to see, where do you believe you can take it? You're the next generation. You're going to run all the major corporations. Okay? So, if we go through the handout, I don't want to read the handout to you. obviously, because you can do it on your own. But what I want to do is show you that when you prepare for an interview, okay, think through that it's somebody not in your generation most probably going to interview you. They have a different value system. They have a different sense of technology. They don't quite get it. Okay? You start talking to me in buzzwords, as some of you used on your resumes. I don't get it. All right? So be sure that you talk in English, you know, if it's here. Make sure you know yourself. Okay? There are people who go ahead and say, you know, I think I'm really worth $300,000. So what do you make now? It's about $125,000. Why do you think you're worth $300,000? Because I know somebody who is, and I'm better than he is. Okay, well, join that company. Okay? The fact is, you got to be realistic about who you are, what you can do, what are your goals. There are some people, and it's okay. Don't get me wrong, who want the money. Go for the money. Okay? There are some people who want to do social change. That's great too. All right? And they, you know, I admire people like that. I don't know if I could do it, but I admire people like that. Okay? So prepare for the interview. Go through all this stuff. When you look at the example of behavior-based interview questions, okay, on your sheet, this is what we train our managers to interview you about. So it's a little bit of the secret sauce, because if you know what we're going to be interviewing you about, these are the kinds of things that you should prepare for yourself as far as how do you answer them. Okay? Now, there are no right or wrong answers, obviously. But, you know, we are looking for things like, you know, developing strategies, what your knowledge base is, interpersonal relationships. We're looking at creating ownership. These dimensions are what you need to look at with respect to how do I go ahead and prepare myself for an interview. On the back side of that, this is how we ask them to give us feedback about you. Okay? These are going to be what they question you about on this side, and this is what, when senior management now says, tell me about Jai? Is that how you say Jai? Tell me about Jai, okay? All right. He's task focused, yes or no, okay? Tell me about his social contacts, tell me about his intellectual abilities, and this all came about from questions I asked you in the interview. So the question is, for you, it's not the question, it's, here's the answer. Okay, this is a little bit like Jeopardy. Here's the answer. Go backwards and figure out what the question should be. All right. Figure out what it is about your background that will help you be able to answer these questions and have the review from us to our senior management about whether to hire you as a logical hire. Fuzzy or clear? Okay. To do it, this is an exercise that just do it yourself, okay? These 50 questions are going to help you to not only put your cover letter together, but it's going to help you with your 90-second elevator drill. Okay? It's going to tell you what your strengths are. Be honest about it with yourself, okay? I will tell you, look, I think my strengths and my interpersonal skills, I am terrible financially. I mean, I've been doing the dance for the last 30 years not to have to do financial analysis. I'm lousy at it, okay? My checkbook is kind of like, you know, if nobody's calling, it's got to be close. All right, that's as good financially as I get. For somebody to say, well, this job requires project management and a good financial analysis, but it pays thus and such, don't jump into something like that. I've made that mistake before. Really look at what your skill sets are, key in on them, and make sure that you move forward with those. These, if you look at question, I think it was 13. Yeah, if you did question 13, that's going to give you your elevator drill. Okay. If you look at question, what was it, 40? You look at 41 and 42. Everybody fumbles in that. Everybody screws that up. What are your strengths and what are your weaknesses? Okay. You know, people tell me when I say, what are your strengths? Oh, man, they go on and on. I said, whoa, we're short of time here. Okay, what are your weaknesses? Well, I work too hard. My wife says I put in too many hours. I neglect my children. I won't hand in a project until it's absolutely perfect. These are all weaknesses I have. You know, give me a break. I mean, people think of all their strengths, but you don't think your weaknesses. Let me give you the answer to this one. I think it's cool. Yeah. Your strengths taken to excess are your weakness. Okay? I am detail-oriented. Okay? When I get under stress, this is not true, I'm not detail-oriented. When I get under stress, I get so manic about details, I don't finish it. Okay? So there's a continuum. My strengths are, you know, my weakness as well. People tell me I have a good sense of humor, okay? When I get under stress, I tend to look for the humor in things, which ticks people off something royally sometimes because it's not funny, all right? But that's my relief, all right? So my strength taken to excess is my weakness. Figure out what your strength is. What are you good at? All right? I'll give you another example. This one, we took these industrial tests and all. I'm what you call controlling, okay? Now my son will say, yay, but you know. I'm controlling, okay? I like to lay out a project. Here, I'd like you to do this part, this part, get back to me on Tuesday, let's all put it together, etc. Okay? And I don't think I'm overbearing doing it. When I get under stress, did you finish it? It was supposed to be done by 2 o'clock. It's now 3:30. What's the problem? Well, my mother died. Too bad. Got 3:30, okay? You know, I mean, it's under stress where you go too far. All right? Now, in the interview process itself, they're going to go ahead and finish up and say to you, do you have any questions? Okay? And people say to me, and it blows my mind, and you know, I'm talking about the kind of hiring I do is usually a minimum of $500,000 executive to $8 or $9 million, okay? So when you go ahead and you talk to somebody like that and they just say, what is your vacation policy? What are you talking about? What are you talking about? I mean, you're going to drive the revenue of this company? You wonder how much time you get off? You know, you're going to get 3 days off probably in the next 2 years. But I'll tell you, you get 3 weeks a year, okay? You take them and you're out of here. Think logically through. Part of that is on the research, as the gentleman said, okay? I also included in the packet someplace towards the end questions you could ask. Here, questions for you to ask. Right? What are the drivers of your revenue? What are your pain points? Where do you see you growing internationally fastest? What are some of the things that have been a problem before in helping you realize your revenues? I see that you just went through a layoff. What was the purpose of that? Okay. Tell me the businesses that you think I could be most helpful. All of these questions, but I mean, get 2 or 3 viable questions. Don't go ahead and just say, how much is my vacation time? And, no, I don't. I mean, people say, nah, you've been really good at explaining the job. I don't have any questions. You're out of here, okay? You're going to spend your life with me. The fact is that when I'm interviewing somebody, okay, I expect them to spend 10, 12, 14 hours a day with me. They're going to be awake for like 4, 5, 6 hours with their spouse, okay? So you got most of the day with me, all right? You can get married on just 2 questions. Okay? You got somebody there that you grilled them, okay? And what's this going to be like? And all right, how are you going to spend money? And what's our budget? And when do we take, blah, 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 okay? You can't not have questions for me here.
And Ken, can I interrupt you for a second? I've been kind of stressing a little bit that it pays to do some talking in class and interchanging, et cetera, because it gets you on the firing line, gets you used to being able to challenge. Okay, other people say to me, no, I'm a listener. But in interviews, you really have to do some challenging.
Yeah, you really do. I mean, I'm going to throw, I'm not here, but I'm going to throw out something to you that I want to see how you react. Okay? I want to see if you challenge me. I want to see if you have logical questions about it. Okay, I'm gonna end up saying, look, we have a division called Active Health, which is a division which is a driver of wellness, kind of like WebMD, you know that one, you've ever seen that? Okay, well, now with the technology, we've got it where all of a sudden, oh man, I didn't get a flu shot. Let me pick up my BlackBerry and say, you know, I can stop over Rite Aid, okay, because they got an appointment available. And, you know, they accept my insurance. Or, man, I got a migraine, I'm gonna be near a doctor, you know, or can I get any information about it? Or I have to have some surgery, you know, who specializes in the surgery? Okay. We have it now where we have a joint venture with the Cleveland Clinic, so that a patient who's in Podomville, Arkansas, can get treated by a senior medical director in Cleveland Clinic along with his doctor in Podomville, okay, and get all Cleveland Clinic access. We're going to have it so that technology is such that you'll be able to take your BlackBerry and go to the doctor and get all your medical records, okay? When they say, oh, you're new, could you fill this out? What's your insurance card? Just, here's the picture, run it off, okay? The fact is that it's going to be, no matter what doctor you go to, okay? I'll give you an example of really what happened. The other day in Kansas City, Kansas, a guy is being treated for a lung problem, okay? He is then in Kansas City, Missouri, visiting his daughter. He has a migraine. He goes to the doctor. They give him medication. Immediately, 4 screens lit up. The 2 doctors and the 2 pharmacists and us, advisors, okay? The pills that you just prescribed to him from Rite Aid are contraindicated from the inhaler that he's taking from Wayne Reed. Okay, how would you know that? So what's ending up happening is immediately the technology is meshing his medical records and saying, this is going to kill him, all right? And, you know, from our sake, yeah, we saved his life, but it's much more expensive to have him die. Okay, so I mean, it's a case of how do you drive costs down? That's really what medical, the health insurance business is about. How do you drive wellness with driving costs down?
Can we open it up, because I know that they get bored after about.
I'm like that. I'm a minute done, okay? Here, let me just tell you about a cover letter. Okay. You now know, you need to target what company you want to go to, or what kind of companies. If you want to go in healthcare, there's us, there's Cigna, there's Humana, there's blah, 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 okay? That's what I want to do. I want to go to healthcare. Target them, research them, learn all about them, do all your research, who's in there, how do I get there, etc. And if you write a letter, write it to the right person. Don't send it to the chairman, round file. Okay, send it to the head of marketing, send it to the chief financial officer, the head of human resources, whoever is going to be the hiring manager. And if you say something like, look, with a 6 Sigma background and 5 years of consulting, I'm a pragmatic leader known for instituting financial controls. Okay, it's data, data, data. Okay, instead of, here's my resume, I'm a graduate of. Okay, if you're going to do it online, get a subject line that grabs you. 6 Sigma healthcare consultant, D2C marketing, executive B2B marketing executive, Fortune 500, Fortune 50 HR director, whatever it is. Okay, because if you just go ahead and say, you know, resume or whatever, I'm going to pass it by. I get 800, 900 of these a week. Okay, I'm only clicking on the ones that look like they're going to really be for the jobs I've got. All right. That's it. 2 other things. One, I just want to show you before I give you your resumes. I'm not going to hand these out, but this is what your competition does. I mean, not everybody, but this is to the chairman of a $35 billion company. Just about everyone enjoys a Broadway play, at least occasionally. The best and most enduring musicals, those with engaging choreography, entertaining, clever plots, foot tapping, upbeat music, can pack audiences for years. Phantom of the Opera opened in January '88 and still going strong. My run at Fidelity was as long as Cats. You know, is this going to really, all right? Here's another one. This just came in. It says, peace, humanity, request for help. I'm writing you realizing you're a man of faith, a devotee of God, a divine soul, and a human. May this also be a grievance of a broken heart seeking amicable resolution. I pray to God daily and ask for your help. My last salary job was in 2002. Is this, I mean, this is a convincing document where I was, whoa, versus somebody who says, I see that you're growing internationally and I can help you. I don't care what the resume says. I don't want this guy. Here's somebody else who sent me a 26-page resume. Okay? I got to page 1, and the only reason I kept it is to show you. Okay? Here's one I thought was really great. Okay? This is a great resume. It does not have the name and address on the top. Okay? But the thing that tickled me is it says what her name is on the bottom. Page 1 of 6, but I get to the last page. I get to the last page, and it's page 7 of 6. How do you do that? And then this one blew my mind. This is real. This says, please email the address herein, this guy's name, convenient time for a time and place of interview of the positions you have open. So this guy's writing the chairman of the board of a $35 billion company, a one-liner saying, send me an email of all the positions you have open. I'll tell you which ones I want. Okay?
Let me interrupt Ken for a moment.
Yeah.
Okay. You guys, I know this is the 6th or 7th week now. In the beginning, you kept on sending me stuff that you were doing your answers in 5, 6, 7 pages. Do you understand where I'm coming from? That Ken's just reinforcing the fact that people like Ken and I just don't read. PhDs can read because they have nothing else to do. But we don't read them. So you gotta shorten it. You gotta make it, and you gotta do something other than words. Something's gotta catch your.
This is the last one, and then I'm going to tell you about your resumes. Okay. This came to me from Wyoming. Okay. Greetings, here's my name, blah, blah, blah. I'm currently incarcerated in the Wyoming State Prison, where I'm in the process of changing my life and applying the knowledge I have from my past. Now, this is a guy I want to expose to all Social Security numbers and medical records. Okay? Duh. Save the 44 cents. Right? So that, I mean, I want to say, that's your total competition. That's what you're faced with, okay? Let me tell you about your resumes real quick. Len asked me to take a look at them and come out with, like who's, best and worst and, whatever. It's not worst. They were all good. Some gooder than others, okay? I kind of broke it down into 4 tranches, okay? The better ones were Alexander Friedberg, Jadip Bandi, and Maxime Attal. Jadip, and you know what I thought was interesting? Not one of you sent them in on time. I thought it was really great. Len said, could I have it by the 9th? I got 2 of them this morning. Okay? So, and I'll tell you why I went there. The next level and close behind it was Alberto Garnier and Max Finn. You gave me a problem. You're Max Finn? Yeah. Your resume was so creative. Okay, you were the only one that put an objective on it, by the way, when I referred to it. Okay. It was almost over the wall. I kind of liked it because of how creative it was, but it's too creative. Okay, you need to tone it down, but it's good. Okay.
I think kind of open for questions now. That was one of my questions. Is a lot, especially nowadays where you have a lot of boutique marketing firms or web design firms that are hiring, and you look at some of the top blogs, some of the top sites that they'll feature top resumes at certain companies, and a lot of them now. That's the thing is if you get coming from your perspective, if you get 500 resumes a week, and how do you stand out without it's hard to stand out if you just use a
You're right.
format.
You stood out a little too far, okay? I'll give you an example. When I was the head of Viacom, which is an entertainment company, I mean, you should see some of the weird resumes I got. I mean, I got a Ziploc bag with a chamois in it, and that was all. And then, I don't know what there was. Put it down. The next day, now that you have touched the prayer cloth, you can't resist hiring me. What? It's like a chamois. Then the other thing was somebody gave me like a walnut shell and a piece of onion skin paper, all crumpled up with their resume. In a nutshell, I'm the best for this. Okay? When you're in an entertainment company, creativity counts. I was thinking what you were doing was looking for the creative side. It's too overpowering. Okay? And it didn't help with the references to your family. You know, I mean, those are people who said things about your grandparents. You know, I mean, I'm sorry, I don't know your father or your grandfather, and it doesn't do anything for me. But I'm sure somebody who knows them probably links into, oh, what you bring to the dance. Okay? It was a good resume. It's just over the top.
I was just gonna say, what did he do? Because we keep talking about this creativity, I don't think anyone else knows.
Oh, okay. Here, do you mind if I show it? Yeah.
It's kind of like Max, one group and on the airplane case just flew their answers in.
Okay. I mean, this is, let me get rid of this sheet for a second. As opposed to a standard kind of like resume, this is Max's. Okay? Now, that gets your attention. Okay? I mean, I don't know, there's no beard there, but you know, I mean, it got no glasses. It gets your attention, and at first I was gonna say, what is this? You know, and I mean, there's just too many, you know, and it goes on, but it's over the top, but it's really good. It's well written, and it starts with your objectives and what you want to do. So it kind of put it in gear as, here's what you want to do. Oh, okay, this kind of fits, but it's too much, okay? The next group I had was Anthony Manhanho, Sanam Jigwani, Anil Gould. Am I butchering these really bad? Okay. And then, and you know, I hate to say fourth level or whatever, because they're really close. It's Tanmaya Anand, Nitesh Chadhari, and Alexander Weber. That one I can do, Alexander Weber, okay? Listen, here's the difference, and I wrote comments on all of them, all right? What I would suggest you do, and I don't know, you obviously must have looked at some kind of format that it says start with your education.
The Babson format.
That's it, okay. When I'm in corporate, okay, put it in the end. What's your objective?
Yes.
What do you want to do? I am
Take
a
away
marketing.
nothing else than that from today, and you're taking away something, because that differentiates you from.
Yeah, exactly right. And then, you know, part of it in here is when you go ahead and say, work on a student plan where I manage 30 people. To do what? What was the project? What was the plan? Give me
What you
specifics.
What
Okay.
you accomplish.
Yeah, what you accomplished. Some of you put in there, and that's why I put them a little higher, like, you know, in the first level, $30,000 budget, added 16 people, blah, blah, blah. Okay? So, yeah.
Sure, pardon me, but correct me if I'm wrong, but I kind of disagree with you because,
Sure.
for example, in other countries that are not the United States, let's say a Latin American country like Colombia, etc., you put your education is really important because most of the people study in national colleges, universities. If your
No, you bring up a good
resume
point.
tells you right in the start that you went to college in the U.S.
Yeah.
in an Ivy League or a college like Babson, you know that's.
Yeah, you bring up a good point. You bring up a good point. My frame of reference is U.S. I didn't even think of what you were saying. Okay, tell you the truth, that is a good point. I don't know the different cultures. Okay, somebody put in what they got as their high school grade point average. Okay, I don't think you need that when you're graduating from Babson. But I mean, that's a good point. I don't know
Well,
that.
the
You know
question
your culture.
Who are you applying to? If you're applying to a U.S. company, then you better play by our rules,
Yeah,
okay?
yeah. Sure.
How, I mean, coming from a background where you have so much experience in hiring, how important is grade point average? Like, is that something that you really consider while looking at someone's resume?
No.
Why is that?
It isn't. The fact is, you graduated, this is a good institution. This has a name to it, okay? And the fact that you graduated, I can't differentiate between a 2.8 and a 3.0. Who cares? The fact of the matter is you graduated. I mean, I have to tell you, just, it kind of my sense of humor, okay? 5 or 6 years ago, I had a serious heart problem, okay? I was in surgery, and I asked the doctor, where did you graduate from, and what grades did you get? And he was from Turkey, okay? He says, well, we're not on the 4. I don't give a crap. Can you do this? Okay? Yes. Okay. The fact of the matter is, the further you get away from the school, the less that matters. I mean, do you care what I got in the University of Nebraska? Okay? And neither did the people who hired me, thankfully.
Why is it then that a lot of job postings have a minimum GPA without which you can apply?
I don't know. I haven't seen that. Somebody once asked me, now I was pretty far along in my career, and they said, did you take the SATs? And I go, yeah. And they said, well, what'd you get? What's the maximum you can get? They said 800 on, 740 and 690. And they, okay. I mean, I made it up. I don't know. I figured those were good enough. I got the job, so are they gonna go check? It was 32 years since I graduated from high school. You're gonna go back and check? I mean, most of us burned the high school anyway. So I haven't seen job postings like that. Okay, I mean, it's probably smaller companies that do that. Okay, no, larger. Yeah, I haven't seen that. Yes.
So in that case, then is it smart to put a GPA on there? Would you not, put your concentration GPA on there? No GPA?
I would put your concentration on there. Okay.
But the GPA of the concentration, is that
It
relevant?
doesn't really add anything to it. What's going to happen is that discussion you and I are going to have, I don't care what the grade was, I want to know you get it.
Right.
I want to know you know the subject. Yeah. Yeah.
I wanted to comment on that most of the big banks that I have applied to ask me even, for the SAT, ask me for the GPA, and when you say, I think that the resume should change according to the position that you want to apply and where you want to apply.
Mm-hmm.
And how do I put my objectives inside the resume? Because if I'm applying to investment banking, I cannot do something very creative. But
Yeah. Well, let me ask. I mean, you see how well banking is doing. Okay. So they're looking for any tool they have. Like, what's your GPA? What about the guy who just stole $4 billion, $2 billion in Europe? Well, shouldn't you be concerned about him rather than whether I got a 3.1 or a 3.3? The fact is that, if they ask you, give it. I mean, the fact is, I get nervous about somebody